to have a commercial launch and our ambitious goal is to be in 100 clinics by the end of the year. We are a team of developers and engineers united for a social cause. My background's in biomedical engineering, autism care, and have a little bit of experience with the FDA regulatory proceedings. It's a pain. Logan has computer science background, marketing, and entrepreneurship. And Max is our rock star full stack developer. My God. That's all I have to say. He's ridiculous. He's built our entire backend himself. I'd like to introduce you to both of our boards. On our advisory board, we have Deanne Detmers and Pete Polares, both with years of experience running these clinics. They've been giving us advice on curriculum development, understanding the administrative sides of ABA therapy. Amato Guloy is a VC-backed bioinformatics entrepreneur and Techstars alum. He's been helping us understand how to really get a startup going. And John Courtney is faculty at the University of Iowa and one of our key business advisors. He was formerly a VP at Intuit and eBay. He's been teaching us how to make a business that scales. Both Amato and John have made me cry on more than one occasion, so you know they're good. In addition to an advisory board, we also have a science and ethics board that give us oversight and ensure that we're adhering to the highest scientific and ethical standards. And I'm proud to say that Professor Kevin Ayers, who is the nation's leading expert on the use of apps and technology in the education of individuals with autism, with over 40 papers published in that narrow space alone, was so excited about our project the first time that he heard it that he asked to be on a board. And not only did he offer to run a pilot study of its efficacy out of his own clinic, he offered to pay for it. This brings me to my financials. By the way, this is slightly different from the ones that you got. This is our more reserved, less optimistic model as far as our spending goes. But our business is sustainable because by virtue of being a B2B SaaS, our gross margins end up being over 90% because our COGS is composed of server costs, of our startup costs, and of our customer support. This allows us to put as much money as we can into R&D and into marketing. So here, we can become very profitable by the end of the year if we can hit that 100 clinic mark. And going forward, we can continue to be profitable, or we can put as much of those profits that we can back into R&D and back into marketing so that we can expand even more aggressively. It's because of ABA therapy that my little brother will start studying public policy and ethics this fall in Iowa, and it's ABLE's mission that every child affected by autism is afforded the same opportunity for success as my little brother. Thank you.
Really inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
it.
I have more emotional stuff if you want to hear it, because there's more.
Maybe we'll get there. Can you talk a little bit more about the pilot study that was commissioned to test the efficacy?
It has not been commissioned or put into play yet. Where we want to have we're going to have like the pilot clinics using it and making sure that nothing breaks, making sure that we have a more coherent data set before we go for that. But he's there. He's excited to jump on. It's actually going to be in his model clinic that we're going to start just the basic use before we have an organized study.
Okay.
But it's going to be about 30 children. He actually has an open. He's so prestigious. He even has an open IRB in his lab, so he gets to go ahead whenever he feels like it. So we're very grateful for that.
And it sounds like you've already started researching the FDA approval process.
I can totally go into the FDA. I'm excited to. It'll take a lot of time,
but
we do not need FDA approval to go to market.
Question.
However, for certain features, we will need to pursue it. However, by doing that, it's kind of like running down a hallway and throwing down a bookcase behind you. Once we go for it, then this kind of product then is subject to FDA proceedings. So any copycats suddenly get a pain in the rear to go to market behind us.
Okay.
I thought it was clever.
Yeah.
On that, just looking at your business model, can you just walk us through what the payment and cash flows is? Is this under an approved ICD-10 code that the clinic?
Yes, that is a very, very good question. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
So early on, our price point is going to be kept very low, about $40 per patient per month. We switched from per therapist to per patient because we learned that that's what clinics are more used to and what makes reimbursement down the line way easier. Right now, Medicaid reimburses at $50 per hour. We're charging $40 per month. In addition, these clinics end up paying about $40 per month for those, just billing services, just scheduling services. This is a cost they've expressed that they'd be more than willing just to absorb themselves until we get to the point where we can get reimbursement through a code. We've also entertained the thought of trying to pursue having augmented ABA be its own billing code per hour so that clinics are incentivized even more to use us, and the insurance companies actually end up paying less per patient because they get more efficacy per hour even if they pay a little bit more per hour. The dollars per efficacy goes down, but those units are kind of weird. If you have any questions about international stuff, I'd be very happy to talk about that.
I'd love to just hear a little bit more about the product itself. We saw the demo of sort of tracking the eye contact, but like, what is? Talk a little bit more about the product and some of the key features that are not easy to replicate by other competitors.
Gotcha. One of the key value props that we provide is through the distribution method, which we do have the patent pending status on. We do have good lawyers on that. One of our advisors is actually a patent lawyer himself, so that's helpful. Do you want to know more about what makes them hard to replicate, or do you want to know more about like what the actual features are?
Both.
Okay, what the actual features are is that we have these lists of exercise that they're currently doing in the clinic that they are very easily automatable while retaining efficacy via a tablet device. This is stuff like speech, like, can you say good job? Or it might be like, can you tell me your name? Matthew, good job. There are ones that go into, can you move your fingers in this way? And then we can use a little bit of computer vision with that to make it a little bit harder. Probably the most complicated thing we have in here is the eye movement stuff. There's some things that are very simple, like here's a picture of a wagon. What is this? Wagon, good job. Or tap the picture of the wagon. Very simple stuff that you'd be paying these therapists like $50 an hour to do. As far as what makes it difficult, the one thing that isn't like an IP sort of thing so much as a pain to design is trying to design an interface for a 3-year-old with autism. A lot harder than you'd think. I'm getting my master's degree in biomedical engineering with an emphasis on ergonomics and human factors. And a lot of that goes into creating displays and creating interfaces that are usable for individuals with special needs, with medical conditions that makes them difficult to identify different features. And I'll be very amused if like some giant company spends $100 million making something that works perfectly, but they didn't think about how well a 3-year-old would end up using it. So yeah, part of there's also the first mover advantage, but no one really cares about that.
Can you speak more to, I guess, how therapists will use this product? Is it a blended approach where children are still coming in but doing this at home, or is this kind of, hey, it's still going to be 1 in 3, and this is totally use it at home, so non-blended at all? It's
going to start blended, and as we get more data and as we understand how these therapists use these exercises and how they customize them to the patient, by making use of machine algorithms, we'll be able to make that transition. Because at first, it's going to be just supplemental. And therapists want that because unless they have good outcomes, Medicaid won't reimburse, and that's money just thrown away. So anything that helps outcomes, they'll automatically jump for it first. But as we get those improvements and we decrease the number of hours each patient needs, we'll generally transition. I don't ever expect this to truly replace a therapist. It will always be a blended approach. But when it's between this and being on a wait list for months and months and months, or in a case where I talked to one clinic, they don't even have a wait list, they just refer their patients to their competitors because it'd be unethical to put them on a list they'd never get off of.
How do you think about sales? Are you going to have partner up with distributors or other channel partners?
Excellent question. Early on, we're going to be doing a lot of the sales ourselves. It's going to be like cold calling, direct messaging. I actually have a list of every single board-certified behavior analyst in the world. I have a list of every single ABA clinic in the United States, courtesy of Autism Speaks and of the certification board. So we have all of our leads fully figured out. As far as how we're actually going to contact them early on, again, it will just be us. But as we begin to grow, we plan to first outsource to sales groups, and then we plan to start bringing on our own because we want to be able to establish those personal relationships with these clinics. We hope, if things go to plan, we plan to hire our first salespeople in November if the launch goes all right. But Yep.
What other things could you tackle with this platform? Disease states and conditions?
There are applications for this into cognitive behavioral therapy as well, which does encompass a lot of different conditions that can be helpful for it. Like, it might seem weird, but if I were to interrupt every time you checked Facebook with, just how are you feeling today? Just making you reflect, that can be beneficial. And in fact, that's what a lot of therapists recommend that you do. There's also potential applications in the ed space. Imagine if every single time, do any of you guys have kids? Imagine if every single time they die in their video game, they can't continue till they can complete a math problem.
We were just talking about that. Yeah.
We've been thinking about it, but the educational space is very, very crowded. And while it sucks if your kid's failing math, like I get it, there are kids with autism that might need the help a little bit more right now, but it does also give us a very valid pivot if it turns out that this approach isn't going to work in this space.
Who's a potential acquirer of your company?
That depends on our stage. If we were to get acquired right now, our best one would be Pathfinder Health Innovations. They're one of the billing and scheduling software ones. They actually acquired another billing company to absorb all their features for $4 million or something. So that'd be a good competitor right now. In the intermediate term, Pear Therapeutics, who are the leaders in just digital health as a whole, they would be a great one. I think they had their $80 million Series A or Series B, and they're looking to continue to expand. Very long term, Apple, both because their tablets are are almost universally used by this particular demographic. They've been trying to get into the health space for a while, and they're excited about it. And my God, they have money. International market. Sorry, what?
I had a question about the potential for expansion internationally.
Very interesting question. Very interesting you talk about that.
China.
So early on, it's likely possible. In the U.S., we have enough services to care for 36% of children with autism here. In Canada, it's 22%. In China, it's 0.14%. There isn't the infrastructure right now to have it just increase the patient load. Even if you increased it 10 times, well, then you're at 1.4%. That's why we're going to use the data from how these therapists use our product and what strategies work for these kids, which ones don't, to make a fully independent version. So that if we can get these kids a tablet, even if it's not equal to having an in-person therapist, it's going to be something. And if this means that just one more kid gets to go on to a mainstream school, go on to college, instead of being stuck in the system for the rest of their lives, then that's an incredible impact with implications across the entire world. In Pakistan and India, there's just nothing. There's not a single board-certified behavior analyst in either of those countries, but there are tablets. And if this means that we can give them hope, that we can give them something, that's something that I want to shoot for. And by starting here in the US and making use of the people who are here and the infrastructure that is here to get that data, that seems to be the best route to us. Very insightful question, by the way. I really rarely get raised that.
Thank you. Thank you.